So today I'm going to look at problem 91. Problem 91 was actually a repeat problem from earlier in the book. It was problem 66. Part A says in the equation y equals ab to the x, it says which letters represent the variables and which letters represent the parameters. Remember what we know that x and y are our variables. Those are the letters that we use all the time as our input and our output. In this case, A and B are the parameters, much like M and B are in a linear equation. So that was part A. So part B says, while we're trying to find the equation for the graph in that problem, Errol stated, I think A must equal 7 because the y-intercept is at 0, 7. So the question they're asking you is, do you believe that the y-intercept is 0, 7, so that A equals 7? So hopefully you believe that. Lots of different ways that we could figure that out, but biggest part of it is that you guys do know that the y-intercept is the same as your A. So then Errol says, but we still need B. Errol noticed that Sandy, they said that they think that 56 should be able to equal 7 times b to the third power. Now, what they actually did is they took a look at this point right here, and they plugged it into the equation y equals ab to the x. They used 56 as the y. They used the y-intercept of 7, and they used x as 3. This is going to be an important part that we understand that we can do, that we can take that point and always remember that the point is just x, y, and so you can use that information in your problem. So we actually have that 56 equals 7 times b to the third power. So if we divide both sides by 7, we get 8 equals b to the third power. Then we are going to take the cube root because b is cubed. So the opposite of cubing something is taking the cube root. Remember that saying what number times itself 3 times is going to equal 8. And it turns out that that answer is 2. So b equals 2. So this is kind of a combination of parts C and D to this problem. And then part E says, now use the A and the B that we know to rewrite the equation. Well, we're going to use y equals, A is our 7, B is 2 to the x power. So this is the equation right here that represents this graph for problem 91. Your also kind of classwork problems would include problem 95. So what I suggest that everybody does right now is take a second, try problems A and B on 95, and then come back to this video if you have trouble, and or come back to this video so you can see me work out the problems. So really quick, and I'm writing them down, but remember, you should be taking a moment and trying to do these problems on your own. This is a lot of what the next couple days are going to be on, is you are trying to write equations given 2 points. Now, we've always been able to write equations given 2 points when they were linear equations. So now we're going to try to do it when we are doing exponential equations. Most important thing is that we remember we're trying to put our equations in the form y equals b to the x power. You can remember, just like we talked about in that last problem, A is the y-intercept and b is our multiplier. Okay, so one of the things that we were doing last week when we looked at a graph is we were creating a table from those points. So I could take this and I could make a quick table. And I know that -1, -2 is a point, and I know that 3, -162 is a point. So what I really want to do is I want to figure out how many times do I have to multiply b to get from -1 to 3. Well, I'm going to have to make it go to 0, 1, 2, and 3. Another way of looking at that is how far apart are -1 and 3, and I know that they're 4 apart. That means that I am actually multiplying b 4 times, or we're getting b to the 4th power. And then I want to figure out, well, what is the multiplier used? So in order to find the multiplier, I'm going to take that -162, the newest value I have, and divide it by the oldest value that I have. And that turns out to be 81. That means that 162 is 81 times bigger than 2. But we used 4 b's to get there. So we know that we multiplied b times b times b times b to get 81. So now, just like in that problem I did for problem 91, I need to take the 4th root of b and the 4th root of 81. So I'll remind you, I'll mainly try to show you the keys. If I'm doing the 4th root, on this calculator, I'm going to hit the math button. And what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for something that looks like a square root sign with an x in front of it. I want the 4th root, so I'm going to put the 4 on the outside. I'm going to put 81 on the inside, and it turns out that b equals 3. Okay, so we have b equals 3. We also need to find out what a equals. So the easiest way to do it is just like we did in that last problem when we found b, is we're going to take the equation that we know we have. So I know I have my y, I'm going to make as -2. My a, I don't know. My b is 3. And my x is -1. So I have -2 equals a over 3. Because remember, when you have a negative exponent, that really means that you are taking the reciprocal of that. So 3 to the negative 1st power was really equal to 1/3. Okay, so I need to solve this equation for a. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And I get that -6 equals a. So I know my a and my b. So I can rewrite my entire equation. And it's going to be y equals -6 times 3 to the x power. So even if you were stuck and you then figured that you'd watch this video, and so now I've done a for you, take a moment, try to do b. Pause the video because I'm going to go ahead and